Have you ever heard of a car so fast, so powerful, that it defied the limits set by the very industry that created it? Imagine a team of engineers with a fraction of Detroit's budget, crafting a machine that left American muscle cars in the dust. Sounds unbelievable, right? It started in the mid to late 60s when Australian manufacturers began pushing the boundaries of performance. Then, in the early 70s, they took things to a whole new level, building muscle cars that could hit 100 miles per hour faster than anything Mopar had in the US. And this wasn't a one-time fluke. For over 2 decades, Australian engineers consistently outperformed their American counterparts, despite having smaller budgets and fewer resources. Today, we're diving into the world of Australian muscle cars, where bigger isn't always better. Stay with us as we unveil 10 legendary Australian muscle cars that rewrote the rules of performance. And if your favorite car isn't on the list, don't worry. It's probably because it was too fast for us to catch. Now, let's get started. And hey, don't forget to like and subscribe. The first car on our list is the Charger E49. Imagine a muscle car born in a small Adelaide facility, where engineers worked with just 5% of Detroit's development budget. Their mission? To create a machine that could take on American V8s, but with a 6-cylinder engine. Impossible? Not for them. Instead of following the bigger is better philosophy, they focused on precision engineering. The E49 was equipped with a 265 cubic inch Hemi 6-cylinder engine, 3 Weber side draft carburetors, and a fine-tuned intake manifold. The result? A car that could hit 100 miles per hour in just 14.1 seconds, making it the fastest accelerating Australian muscle car of its time. It wasn't just about speed, it dominated Australian motorsport, proving that smart engineering could outmatch raw displacement. Next, we have the HG350 Monaro GTS, a car that wasn't just fast, it was a statement. In July 1970, Holden rolled out 14,437 units of this beast, challenging Detroit's manufacturing standards. The Monaro GTS 350 wasn't just about brute force, it was about sophistication. With a crisp suspension setup and a Salisbury limited slip differential, this machine could handle corners like a dream. And while American manufacturers were still offering power front disc brakes as an expensive add-on, Holden made them standard. It was clear. The Australians weren't just competing, they were setting new standards. If you're enjoying this dive into Australian muscle history, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. We're bringing you the most exciting stories from the golden era of muscle cars. Let's talk about the Bolwell Nagari. Picture this: 2 brothers in a small workshop, transforming a crashed 1937 Ford into what would become Australia's most exclusive supercar. The Nagari wasn't the product of a massive corporation, it was a labor of love. The Bolwell brothers pioneered lightweight fiberglass construction, creating a chassis that was both rigid and stunning. Under the hood, a Ford 302 Windsor V8 engine, delivering quarter-mile times of 14.8 seconds. Later models with the 351 Cleveland engine dipped into the 13-second range, rivaling European sports cars. As legendary auto journalist Peter Robinson put it, the Nagari was raw power in its purest form. Then came the XWGT Phase 1, Ford Australia's answer to the muscle car wars. In 1969, they unleashed a 351 cubic inch Windsor V8 beast designed to dominate both the streets and the racetrack. With a Holley 750 carburetor pushing 300 horsepower and a heavy-duty top-loader manual transmission, this car was built to handle the toughest conditions. But it wasn't just about power. Ford Australia engineered a unique front suspension setup that gave it an edge over American muscle cars in handling. It was proof that brute force and refinement could coexist. Ford wasn't done. XWGT HO Phase 2 took everything great about its predecessor and turned it up a notch. With only 287 units ever built, this car is one of Australia's rarest muscle machines. Engineers fine-tuned the 351 Cleveland V8 with a specially designed Holley carburetor, boosting output to 300 horsepower at 5,400 RPM. But the real magic lay in the drivetrain. A Daytona differential with a Detroit locker ensured that this car could maintain traction at insane speeds. The result? A muscle car that dominated Bathurst and became a legend in Australian motorsport. Now, let's talk about a game changer, the A9X Torana. This wasn't just a muscle car, it was a revolution. When Holden unveiled the A9X in 1977, they redefined what Australian performance cars could achieve. It was the first car in Australia to feature four-wheel disc brakes as standard, a groundbreaking move at the time. The engineers developed a modified rear floor pan to accommodate a stronger rear axle and improved suspension geometry. Under the hood, the L31 5-liter V8 engine delivered raw power, while aerodynamic tweaks kept the brakes cool during grueling races. And the results? The A9X dominated the 1979 Bathurst 1000, winning by an unprecedented 6 laps, a record that still stands today. Meanwhile, Chrysler wasn't sitting idle. The 771 RT 6-pack E37 Charger was their answer to the V8 dominance. But instead of building a bigger engine, they built a smarter one. With a triple Weber carburetor setup, the E37 Charger proved that engine size wasn't everything. It clocked a quarter mile in 14.4 seconds and reached 100 miles per hour in just 14.1 seconds, outpacing many V8 rivals. Only 149 units were ever produced, making this one of Australia's rarest muscle cars. Back in 1966, Ford Australia took matters into their own hands, refusing to simply import American muscle. They created the XR Falcon GT, a machine that set the blueprint for every Australian muscle car that followed. With a Mustang-derived 289 cubic inch V8 producing 220 horsepower, this car was a force to be reckoned with. And Ford didn't stop at raw power. They fine-tuned the suspension, transmission, and wheels to create a true performance package suited to Australian roads. But before Ford's XR GT made headlines, Chrysler had already made a bold move with the AP6 Valiant. In 1965, this was the first Australian-built car to feature a V8 engine. Borrowing the 273 cubic inch V8 from Plymouth, Chrysler Australia created a car that could hit 109 miles per hour, a serious feat for its time. Despite production challenges, the AP6 became a symbol of Australian muscle car innovation. And finally, we come to the 1979 Ford XC Falcon Cobra. This wasn't just a car, it was a farewell tour done right. Each of the 400 units carried a unique numbered plaque and racing modifications that made them legends of Australian motorsport. The first 200 Cobras packed the powerful 351 Cleveland V8, while the rest featured the 302 Cleveland. With four-wheel disc brakes, a limited slip differential, and iconic Bathurst globe wheels, this car was built for speed and dominance. And there you have it, 10 Australian muscle cars that proved the world wrong. These machines weren't just about horsepower, they were about ingenuity, precision, and pushing the limits. Which one of these legends is your favorite? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into Australian muscle history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for more thrilling automotive stories. Until next time, keep your engines roaring.